What is the startup gap? That's what people say. That's a weird name. What the heck is it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, my name is Andy Nathan. I'm the author of the upcoming book, Startup Gap. And in Startup Gap, we talk about the stories of entrepreneurs between dreams and success. And what we do in this book is really evaluate what happens in between the dreams and success for entrepreneurs. See, a lot of times when you're talking about business and you're talking about, hey, how do you get started with this idea? They'll say, well, I worked really hard and then all of a sudden I was a millionaire. And it's like, oh, that's great. I want to do it too. But then you're like, well, I just work hard and that's it. Well, that doesn't really tell us what you did in between the starting and the finishing and getting successful. I want to actually go into what actually happens in that gap between dreams and success. And that was really the motivation for me. It was really the book I always wanted to read. I'm a history major, and I actually am a former history teacher, I should say, as well. So for me, understanding how people learn and how they grow as entrepreneurs was really an important process that I needed to fully understand. I also needed to see what others did because I want to see what I'm missing, because I know I don't know everything, as much as that might be surprising and shocking to most people. So I want to see what successful entrepreneurs do. The gappers, as I call them. The people who have officially crossed the gap between dreams and success. So take, for example, Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a billionaire. I would think anybody by any stretch of the imagination would probably consider him very financially successful. I don't know the guy personally, so I'm not going to address other areas of his life. However, he's been constantly on the #1 list for Forbes for the past 20 years. And he has one of the biggest companies in the world. He owns one of the biggest companies. He's had some massive charities and massive nonprofits they started. Well, let's think about how he got started. He started up Microsoft in 1976. And if you go on Wikipedia, this is what it actually says. 1976, Bill Gates started up Microsoft. In 1980, he sold the first Microsoft program software to IBM. Well, what happened between 1976 and 1980 that made Microsoft big enough to get to IBM, to Big Blue? I mean, especially back in the late 70s, early 80s, Big Blue was everything in IT. I mean, they were the pinnacle of success. So how did he do it? How did he grow that business so they were actually successful? And that's really what we explore. We understand the stories in between that, because the stories really do tell a difference. So we find out things about entrepreneurs that a lot of people don't look for. We find out, what are your biggest challenges? What are the greatest habits that you've developed that got you from dreams to success? One of the people I was talking to, Stephen Knuth, he's a photographer. They deal with high-end wedding. Him and his wife, Scarlett, deal with high-end wedding photography. And one of the things that they said was that, look, every day I'm reading, I'm learning something new. And I have my computer open with Google Docs or Evernote, and I'm always taking notes and learning about stuff. Well, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, they might be working hard, but sometimes they're not always learning, and they're not always developing as entrepreneurs. And that's one thing that just I've noticed as I've continued. Jeff Bullis said the same thing. If you really want to be a great blogger, read. Stephen King said, the secret to writing great is to read a lot. So there's obviously common threads among successful people, and understanding what those gappers did to become successful makes a difference. So that's what Startup Gap is. It's understanding the gap and using the stories between dreams and success to understand that gap. This is Andy Nathan with Startup Gap, and I look forward to you checking out the new book. And it's going to be on Amazon in August.